Lord, sister. I'm very excited to be with Anke Herrmann today. She's you're such a doll. You were just talking about your advocacy for dogs and where that comes from and who it's for. I'm just gonna let you run for it with it because this is your thing.
It is. And when you asked me to come and talk about advocacy, like the first thing that popped to mind is like, I want to advocate for dogs, right?
Yeah.
Because they deserve it. And I think the way humans have been treating them has just like we constantly underestimate and misunderstand them, so we miss out on a lot of what they can give, and it's just like the arrogance behind it. It's just not fair and it's not right. And I think if we treat dogs the way they deserve it, humans become better humans in the process. There'll be more kindness. So it's not just for the dogs, right? I think indirectly it actually benefits humans as well.
One of the things that really upon me was what you went through. And you talked about this in the book, My Fur Baby Wrote This Book, about how critical people were of you. It brings tears to my eyes if I go too far into it, of how you would, you're doing it wrong. And
Oh,
and what that did to your spirit, and you're just trying to work with this sweet dog, and how driven this is such a good story that you've written, and it's a life you've lived. It's not just a story. It's an incredible inspiration, Anka, for what one person can do with their passion and their advocacy for dogs.
yeah.
And your podcast, I don't even have a dog and I love it. Like, I'm serious. I've been
You
saying
need a
that
dog.
since the first episode. Listen, your people are so brilliant, and it's a half hour and it leaves a person wanting more because you're coming from the heart and so are they.
Yeah.
And that's what a real advocate is, and it's healing.
Yeah. And they deserve it, right? And I think there's so much
Yeah.
for so long. And the thing is, dogs are a beautiful example that a lot of people can relate to because we've had them in our homes, right? But bottom line, I feel the same when sometimes, I don't know, like in Malaga, they have these little trips you can take, and it's like a carriage by like carried pulled by a horse or by a donkey, and it's cruel, right? So it's that sense of the animals are treated as tools,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
so that's the thing that first sparked my um, outrage almost.
Yeah.
When I had little Leo, my first dog, and so you start paying attention to what's going on with other, you notice people how they treat their dogs and abandon dogs and all of that. So the arrogance, it's like, and people would treat them as a tool, right? So it means like, yeah, I want you to rescue me when I'm lost, right? And I want you to guide me when I'm blind. But other than that, I'm just going to throw you a bit of dry bread and I'll give you as much as I need to get a like to just keep
Gosh.
you functioning, right? And I've seen it in like police departments, police dogs, the kennels they have them, it's like, I would say, well, that is animal cruelty, what they do, right? So it's just like, we'll give you enough, just the least we get away with to still have you functioning. So it's just like an old shovel you just leave out in the garden and don't even bother putting away in a shed, right? And you see
Oh,
so much of that. Then on the other extreme, you have people who treat them like toys for the kids. I've had neighbors who said, oh, well, that dog, we don't have it anymore. We kind of gave it, at least they gave it to the grandparents. They got it as a puppy for the kids, and then the dog got too big, you know? So, and then you have people who treat them as a toy or to treat them as their little pocket thing that they dress up like a monkey. We shouldn't dress up monkeys either, but you know what I mean, where they just treat it as a fashion accessory. And it's like everything It's just the animal serves me. And I just think it's wrong on so many levels. And we're missing out on their wisdom. Like they're closer. Like, how often do we say, oh, we want to be in touch? We want to live in the here and now. We want to be more playful. We want to live more in the body. Like dogs do that all the
Yeah.
time. Like, like they do. It's almost like when you grow up, you want to be more like your dog, you know? And they just deserve the kind of respect
You're
that, I think they should be getting, and I will die on that hill.
aw. Aw. It's you through and through. And this is the book that and I so appreciate that you're willing to talk about your advocacy, because advocacy shows up in many ways. And by definition, I actually, word nerd, word nerd, word alert, had to look it up. And it was either, the profession of an advocate, like a lawyer, the act of arguing in favor of or supporting something. And third is the practice of supporting someone to make their voice heard. And in this case, that someone seems to be a four-legged. Um,
Yeah.
because go ahead.
And the people, and you were saying before, like, and that's so what I experienced. And I just had, what was it? Well, I can't remember. Like I'm working with a dog trainer now, and so we've got just gone through a new program she's put together, and so that whole idea of, yeah, whose walk is it, right? Because I remember I got so much grief from neighbors and from everybody when I would just let my dog sniff. It's like, oh no, you can't do that. Like, you need to make the dog walk next to you and can't, so it's that. And now I find that more and more experts actually realizing almost like what I did intuitively was actually right after all, and it's
Nice.
like I was right all along. It was just like nobody talked it, the traditional conventional attitude from people and even experts was just like, no, no, you need to kind of just, you know, intimidate your dog into submission. And now we're realizing, and that's why I'm thinking that advocacy from different people in their different environments, it's starting to really pick up momentum, right? It's really worth doing because I remember the first time on my summit last year, I got all the speakers together into a round table, like an expert round table. So all my speakers were in one Zoom room and one literally teared up. And she goes, I can't believe it. Let's see how I get this out without tearing up myself.
Oh,
Because she said, for 3 decades, I've been trying to get this message out, right? That everybody benefits when we lead with kindness and connection. And it's always felt as if I'm screaming into the wind. And now I'm in a room with a whole bunch of colleagues and everybody's looking in the same direction. Everybody's pulling on the same string. And so there seems to be like quite a ripple effect that more and more people, and we're talking about trauma now, that needs to be addressed, that the dog's nervous system needs to be calmed down before they can learn anything. Ta-ta, like, it's the same for children. Like, so it's like, it isn't that much difference. Everything we start to appreciate and recognize here actually equally applies to people as well. So it's advocacy for people just as much, but it really shows there. And like when I'm just looking at how much has changed since I first got Leo 20 years ago, you know, it's massive. It's massive.
that's really good. And that shows the power of a voice. And when they
Yeah,
come together, it's more than two voices. It's exponential power.
yeah,
And we learn through sharing our stories about these things. We learn by, picking up a book. How many things have I learned from a book? Only everything.
yeah,
And talking to people, but you have to make sure who you're talking to. Like, right? You don't want to listen to everybody.
mhm, yeah,
That's very powerful to hear how she felt like she was yelling into a bottomless pit until now. And advocacy really is about being a stand-up guy.
yeah,
And look at you got vindicated. Hey, I wasn't
yeah,
so far off the mark after all. Blah 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 blah
yeah.
blah.
And
And
it's such a relief. Like it's really fascinating how it's so much harder work when you can stand up, and everybody who's ever stood up against the mainstream opinion knows that it can be quite hard. And
Yes.
then, and there'll be moments where you question yourself. And so it's not an easy ride, and it's worth it, but it's also brilliant when you then realize, well, actually, there's other people on the same, like with the same passion or the same approach to things, and getting together. It's like, actually, we can really make some waves here.
I love that. And the part that advocacy is a step beyond service to self, and there's nothing more rewarding than being of service to others. The fulfillment that comes from that, whether it's a four-legged other or the other others that are in charge or whatever, they're owned by their four, whatever, you get it. There's something very different that happens when your work is not self-serving so much. You are the epitome of turning your passion in, following your bliss into, an award-winning podcast. Hello.
Indeed, yeah. No, that is like, and it's just when you don't need to know the outcome, but the actual purpose and intention is so strong that, like, you'll take the step anyway.
You can't not do it.
Yep.
Yeah. I really appreciate you talking about this, because advocates are, like there's a guy out there. We all love Russ Johns. If you know Russ, kindness is cool, smiles are free. That's Russ. That's his advocacy. And mine is for elevating. I used to say raising voices, but it's like that doesn't come right. I'm all about raising voices of others. No, I'm elevating. um, but yeah, the advocacy is healing, and often we are. And that's the tagline: "Heeding a higher calling," is that it's in us, and I think it's in a lot more people than people maybe even recognize it in themselves, is that there is something that they're actually an advocate for, something that they're passionate about.
Yeah. And I think if somebody doesn't know what it is, I would kind of recommend to kind of get quiet for a bit and find it, because I'm pretty sure it's there.
Yeah, it is. Pretty sure it's there. Anka, where can people get more from you? I really want to
Well, I guess the easiest is like soultouchedbydogs.com. So if you love dogs, you can go there. But yeah, there's also ankeherrmann.com, my main website. So there you can find out all the bits I'm up to in the world as a multi-passionate nutcase. But I'd really like to invite people to get a free, well, reading. I don't read card reading.
yes,
I don't read tarot cards. But
that.
I did actually read my chapter of the delightful book, My Fur Baby Wrote This Book. So I'm not the only author in there, but you can start with getting I read it out on a video, my own chapter. And if you enjoy that, you can grab the entire book at Amazon. Highly recommend it. So there's 5 stories, 5 or 6, and definitely, if you want to know more about advocacy for animals in all kinds of different shapes, then and animals and their people, really, then that's definitely something I would highly recommend.
Where can they go get the free chapter? Your author reading. Where's that?
Soul Touched by Dogs. There's a bookshelf, and they can get it
And
there.
they can hear
I'll
you
say I'll
reading.
I'll give you the link.
Oh, that's so cool. Guys, have a listen. Go check out Anka reading her chapter because, well, first of all, it should come with Kleenex, but also,
Yep.
it should. It is extremely well written, and if you love dogs even half as much as she does, you're gonna love this story so much. Anka, thank you for being in support of advocacy for dogs. It is people like you that are changing things for people everywhere and for their dogs too. So.
And thanks for raising my voice for this. So thank you.
Elevating.
Elevating. See, funny how the racing starts.
All right, honey. Well, thank you. And guys, I hope you'll join me in the next book. Because chances are you are an advocate. And just go to booklonnie.com. Hey, I figured it out. We publish in March, so we get it done quickly, and it's a good time. Yeah. Thanks, Anka.
Thank you.
Yep.